The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. If you're tuning in, it must be Friday, and it is indeed Friday. It's the last Friday of the month of February, and we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park. And you're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We're in our 7th year, and our show, if you're just tuning in for the very first time, is a show about how our older adults can live a healthier, happier life. And how do they do that? They do that by listening into the show, because we bring extraordinary guests to the show, and today's no different. I have 2 new guests here to the show, but the topic that we're talking about is something we've talked about for years. Not a lot of years, but for a couple years. So I am really excited about having Sun Health Community, specifically Sun Health at Home, in the studio. I've got Barbara Mason. She is the executive director, and I've got Nicole Holtsclaw. She's the membership council for Sun Health at Home. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It's good to have you here. And, you know, Sun Health has been around a long time.
Right.
You know, I know we've given some facts here in the past, but Barbara, I'm looking at you. Can you give us a little bit of intel about Sun Health? And, you know, it kind of is synonymous to Sun City and Del Webb's vision of creating we'll call it a 55-plus community back in the 1960s.
Right. You know, Sun Health is celebrating 54 years this year.
Wow.
As a nonprofit serving the West Valley initially, and as time has progressed, so have we. We've actually taken our message and our programming out across the valley now, and so Sun Health is really synonymous with helping people to achieve superior health and well-being through philanthropy, inspired living options, as well as our wellness programs.
Well, you know what, the thing I love, and I missed it this year, is the Sun Health Community Leaders Forum. You know, it used to be the Board of Directors and Community Forum, but now, you know, it's referred to as a Community Leaders Forum, and it's so educational, and I'm really bummed I missed it. I was out of town, and I heard you guys broke out into work groups and were problem solving and really talking about some of the things that you guys are working on. Can you give us like a real quick snapshot of what that was all about?
Sure, I'd be glad to. We had fantastic attendance this year from folks those concerned folks all across the valley. And so our Community Leaders Forum really is a chance to bring community leaders not only in healthcare, but in education, as well as law enforcement, emergency services, the folks from the hospitals. We bring everyone together in hopes that we can address some of the issues that are facing our folks in the community now. And so this year we had some really great breakout sessions, and the one that I was particularly involved in, because I also am the executive director for our Memory Care Navigator program.
I did not know that.
Yes. So what we did was we really took the needs of the folks suffering with dementia and those who love them, and we broke out to determine what exactly could we do for folks who are really facing that dilemma, as well as for their family members who are supporting. And so through our Community Leaders Forum, we've developed a new task force to kind of take that on in the next year and to encourage people to have that healthy brain check once a year.
Sure.
And so we're going to be promoting that through a partnership with the Banner Sun Health Research Institute and through my program with Memory Care Navigator.
You know, you mentioned Sun Health Research Institute, the Sun Health Banner Research Institute. for those that live in the West Valley know about this institute. It's been around a long time, and you guys have been on the forefront, and I'm talking about over 30 years, where you guys have been working with the community as a whole to do memory scanning, and you have this incredible body donation program.
Yes.
Can you give us a little snapshot on that? I know I want to get into some of this other stuff, but I want our listeners that don't know about this crown jewel that's in the West Valley need to know this.
And it's part of the Sun Health tradition. It's really part of what we do to support the community. We're really proud of our partnership with the Sun Health Banner Research Institute. Banner has been a great friend to us for many years, and at this point in time, we have up to 30 studies happening with the Banner Sun Health Research Institute, studies that are involving folks who have the disease, folks who haven't been identified yet, folks who have the genetic markers. And so really, there's no one that the Institute can't touch. If you even have an interest in knowing more about the disease, knowing more about your own probability or possibility of developing the disease, they have many, many different types of programs, and in fact, I'll share with you that my husband is part of the Banner Sun Health Research Institute because he has a very high family history of Alzheimer's, and both of his parents, all 4 grandparents, and so he wanted to know, what his probability was, and so he had the genetic testing done through the Research Institute. Thank goodness he's on the good side. Living with me may change that, I'm not sure, but I will say that it is such a comfort to know that the programs supported by the Institute are reaching everywhere in the Metro Phoenix area.
Yeah, I have an employee that's been a part of it for over 15 years, and she talks about every year then she goes in, she goes, to do her testing.
Do her checkup.
And she's got a baseline, and they keep, annually progressing, or at least keep track of her cognitive ability, which I think is so fascinating. And the body donation program is really cool too. And I want, just to have you guys touch on that, because initially it was for brains.
Right.
And now it is expanded to other areas. The one that I was most fascinated in, and it's near and dear to me, is heart. And here we close out the month of February, and it is Heart Health Month. And,
right.
And you guys are doing amazing work in terms of the heart research that you're doing and the tissue collection. I mean, there's nobody in the world that gets... And maybe morbid to talk about, but as fresh a tissue as you guys get, because the hospitals are so close, and you're able to get that tissue within, I think I was told, less than 2 hours after the person's deceased.
Yes. And really the generosity of the donors and the donors' family is what makes that all possible. And we are so eternally grateful because there's nothing like that fresh tissue, and also the ability to study folks. We used to think that Alzheimer's was simply a brain disease. We know now that it is a brain and body disease, and we can learn so much through the collection and the harvesting of those folks who choose to be donors, and we're so grateful for that.
And for our listeners to know this, and I know this just because I've studied and visited this, the donations of organs and tissue isn't just for Sun Health; it's for the world.
Absolutely.
And people are getting this from Sun City, Arizona, from Sun Health, which is fascinating.
Right.
It's hard to believe. We go really fast here, and I want you to touch a little bit on the Memory Navigator. I know one of them. I've known her for a long time, Marty Finley, and we think the world of her because, as you know, Cypress does a lot of care in the dementia area. So if you could just give us a little snippet on what their role is in the community that you guys serve.
I'm so proud to do that. Marty is truly a gem, a gift to the Valley. She has such a heart for what she does. We know that so many folks are at the beginning of a long, long journey, a journey that is very scary and very unsure. And when you receive that diagnosis, or when you first start noticing that things are changing with someone you love, it's so scary. And there's so much fear of what's next. And so our Memory Care Navigator program simply interacts with folks who are beginning the journey, folks who may not have a diagnosis yet, but they know something is changing. And then again, folks who do have the diagnosis. We actually work with a couple of physicians that we spend half a day in their office while they see their patients. Our Memory Care Navigator program is specifically designed to help navigate what's next. What resources are available? Where should I be turning for help? How do I make sure that I'm doing everything I can to keep my family members safe? How can I make sure that there's nothing that I'm forgetting that is going to cause even more disruption in our lives? And so the Memory Care Navigator is a gift to the community. It is sponsored through the Sun Health Foundation. Through the generous gifts of all of the folks who donate across the valley. And it's really, it makes the difference. It makes the difference when things get really scary.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's up against the first break, and I want to just kind of lay the foundation of who Sun Health is and some of the great work that you're doing, and certainly the community event that you held earlier this month is just fascinating to me. But the true purpose of you being here in the studio and Nicole being here in the studio is to really talk about Sun Health at home. So we're going to tee that up for the second segment, and we'll be talking about it in the third and fourth. So don't go away. You've been listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I got Barbara Mason and Nicole Holtsclaw from Sun Health. We'll be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, and if you're just tuning in, we're in segment number 2, and I got Sun Health here in the studio. You missed in our first segment our discussions about Sun Health's beginning in the city of Sun City, and really all the great work that they're doing in the community. If you missed it, definitely dial into our website at cypresshomecare.com. Click on the media button. Third button down is radio show. You can catch that and about 300 others we've been bringing to you for the last 7 years. So I actually literally want to pass the baton over to Nicole, because we were talking about the Sun Health Community Leaders Forum, and we broke out into breakout sessions, and you did a breakout session that I would love for you to share with me, because I don't know. You said I wish I had talked about that, and share with our listeners as well, because I think it dovetails nicely into the Navigator program.
It does, and we did 3 breakout sessions. So Barbara was part of the dementia and Alzheimer's. There was also obesity and chronic disease, and then the third one was access to care. And I was part of that one. And so when we broke out into groups and had these leaders actually digging into how can we improve it, and how can we put those into place, and how can we look at quantifiable data to say that we've improved folks' access to care in the Valley, it was really coming down. The common thread was navigation and coordination, is better communication between physicians and hospitals and care providers. And that was kind of that missing link. And so when we look at Sun Health's program like the Memory Care Navigator, the reason why it is so important is because it provides that link. It's linking the patient and their family, their physicians, as well as other resources like
the Memory Cafe.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know, the thing about it is when you're in it and you get this diagnosis and you're one of these families, you can't see straight.
No.
You can't look at all the resources. And I just marvel at how Sun Health has adapted to these changes that have happened, not only in our communities, but have happened with diseases and issues that we are dealing with, social isolation issues, social determinants of health. I mean, you guys are recognizing those, and That's what's really not only afforded you the opportunity to be leaders here in our community, but I know that Sun Health, scores really high throughout the country. I mean, people look to Sun Health for some of the innovation that you guys are doing.
And that innovation part, it's looking at how can we be better navigators and better coordinators for folks with a cancer diagnosis or with management of their diabetes or chronic disease. We're finding that not just if somebody is diagnosed with a chronic disease, it's not just one thing. They're more than likely going to be managing a few different issues. And so it's having someone that they can connect with that will take the time to look at them holistically, not just for one issue. So I think that's what we wanted to address, and we wanted to find that solution for the greater community.
And really the horsepower is driven by the foundation. Because this is a service that is provided to the community. This isn't something out of pocket. This is, if you live in the community and you need these resources, you reach out to Sun Health.
Exactly.
Fantastic. I just marvel what you guys are doing. So now let's talk about Sun Health at Home.
Happily.
You know what? I had on the show over 4 years ago, Jennifer Drago, talking about this, and I've also had others on the show talking about it. But Barbara, you are the exec director. Mm-hmm. You are running this program. You've been at the helm for just a little more than 4 years. Mm-hmm. Tell us about Sun Health at Home.
Where do I begin? I think I'd like to begin by saying that when I was asked to move across the country to take over this program, I had to think about that, obviously. And one of the things that convinced me was when I learned that the program answers all of the questions that folks need to ask themselves or that their children are forced to answer for them as things change. I never had that opportunity for my own family, and knowing that I would be able to be an instrument to help folks as they plan, as they prepare, and as they really address the change that happens, that we can't help happening, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're all getting older every day, darn it. But when I realized that would really be my role, I jumped. I couldn't get here fast enough. And Sun Health at Home really was created to really address change, to address the fact that nothing stays the same. And as we change, many people focus so much on the things that they're going to lose when things change.
Right.
That it becomes overwhelming and it becomes traumatic. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it scares people, I think, sometimes into making really bad decisions. With Sun Health at Home, we're able to address change proactively, and we're able to really prepare. We're able to prepare for the what-ifs and what might happen, and how do we make sure that when change begins to happen, that folks don't feel that trauma, that they don't feel that they're falling off a cliff, that they have someone surrounding them, that they know that someone's there for them. Whether or not they have family here or not, they know that their needs are going to be taken care of, that someone's going to be looking out, also being an advocate and a communicator with them and for them. And so Sun Health at Home really is the answer to the 4 basic questions. The questions are, when your health changes, who do you want to provide care for you? Where do you want to get it? How much do you think it's going to cost? And how are you going to pay for it? And Sun Health at Home is the answer for all of those questions.
Wow. So we know that you guys address these questions and these uncertainties, and certainly uncertain times. And, I've talked about it here on the show. I mean, what we don't do enough of is having the conversations.
Absolutely.
I mean, we live in the present, don't think about the future. And we think that everything's going to stay the same, and it doesn't. I mean, we get thrown curves every single day, and we have to really be malleable and be able to adapt and make changes with that. Mm-hmm. So you've talked about Sun Health at Home and some of the things that you're looking to address. If I can have you just take a deeper dive and tell me exactly what is it. So how do I find out about it? How do I enroll in it? Is that something you would like Nicole to
sure
tackle? Okay.
Absolutely.
So tell us.
And really, just like everything else, the best way to learn about it is to talk to us. Looking at our program from behind a computer screen or from our literature will give someone a sense of what services and what benefits we provide. But to truly understand a program that is life care, that is going to work with you and stand next to you, you have to add in that person aspect. So I always suggest somebody come to one of our seminars. They're about an hour and a half long, so they're not really that long of a time frame to sit and talk about somewhat of an uncomfortable subject for some people, but they're going to get a really broad overview of what we do. And they're going to get to know our staff, the folks that they're going to be working with. And then following that, I meet with folks individually. And so we really sit down, and I like to make sure that we answer those questions, we address those, but that we do have that talk. We start to have that conversation about what they'd like to see for themselves and start making those plans. And that's a big portion of considering partnering with a program like us for the rest of someone's life. But it's so flexible. It makes that conversation easier.
When we get into the third segment, I want to dive deeper into what this program is, but I want to make it really clear to our listeners. You don't have to live in Sun City to have this Sun Health at Home program, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
We have members from Scottsdale to Wickenburg and all the way south to Goodyear and Avondale.
And these discovery seminars that are being put on, they're being put on monthly? And is there a place that people can go find them?
Actually, weekly, and we actually promote them all across the valley. And if you want more information, you can go to sunhealthathome.org.
Perfect. It's halftime here at Health Futures. You're listening to Health Futures. I got Sun Health in the studio, Sun Health at Home in the studio. We will be back for our third and fourth segments. Don't miss out. We'll be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And if you're just tuning in, we're in our second half here, coming at you live from the Money Radio studios here in the Scottsdale Aero Park. And I've got Sun Health at Home in the studio. I've got Barbara Mason, who's the executive director, and I've got Nicole Holtsclaw. She's the membership counselor.
Yes,
there you
counselor.
Go. Membership counselor. And if you missed the first two segments, we talked a lot about Sun Health and its origins and some of the great work that they're doing in our community. And in our second segment, we really started diving into the Sun Health at Home. It's been around for about 4.5 years. And I really want to take this third and fourth segment really to explain what is it. You Barbara, you mentioned in the second segment about it being life care. And, I know it's, the motto, I think, that I remember Jennifer talking about when Jennifer Drago, when she first came on, it's like continuing care at home. Right?
Correct, right. So, we know through research that the majority of folks over the age of 60 don't really see themselves, at least at this time in their lives, moving into a retirement community. And although Sun Health has 3 absolutely beautiful continuing care retirement communities, they're fabulous, we know that the majority of folks don't see themselves doing that. And so I always laugh and say, instead of folks moving in with us, we move in with you. Because we are a continuing care at home program. So we're providing really all of the benefits, the amenities, all of the personalized care and service that you would receive for your lifetime if you moved in with us. But we do that in your own home. And
wherever you call home.
Right, wherever you call home. So whether or not you are living in your own independent residence, whether you have moved in with a family member, maybe you're even a snowbird. We also have folks who have moved out of state but have chosen to keep our program, and we're able to, through our portability process, even care for them in their home if they move across the country. But we do provide that life care component. And really, life care simply is a promise. It's a promise that from the day that you join our family at Sun Health, that we will care for you. We will care for you no matter how old you get, no matter how much care you need, no matter what the service is, what the level is of service that you might need, even if that includes a facility-based care like a skilled nursing or assisted living or even a memory care unit. We will provide that care for you for the duration of your life, unlimited.
That to me is fascinating, and I want to learn more about it. And the thing you said is out of state too.
Right.
So like, for example, and I actually wanted to see if I could get my dad to come on today. He wasn't feeling well. A big shout out to Noodles. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, feel better.
He's been on the show before, and I wanted him to actually ask you some pointed questions because this is, he fits that profile. So if my wife and I were to buy this product, this service, if we moved to Chicago, which I know that's where you're from, that area, we still could be getting care.
Absolutely. The portability aspect of our program allows us, if we have someone who becomes a member and they change their mind. I always use, why would you want to move to Minnesota? Because it's cold there. But should somebody decide they want to do that, we will simply contract with like providers. People that do what we do, specialists in geriatric case management, in geriatrics. And we will then be able to provide, and there's a financial coverage to this program as well. There's a financial benefit on a monthly basis to our members. And we would do that no matter where they lived, which frankly was also one of the reasons that I joined the program myself.
Right.
I just squeaked by on the minimum age requirement. And so this year I made the commitment, as it is going to be my answer for the future. And I have 3 sons who don't live in the area. And in fact, one of them is in Chicago. And so should I ever decide that I want to move, I know that I can take Sun Health with me.
The portability stuff is really interesting. So tell me more. I'm really interested. So we talked about the discovery seminars, and I know that you guys are doing them weekly. And when we broke from the second segment, you gave the website address, and that was sunhealthathome.org, right, to really find out when and where the next discovery seminar is. But I need more. Tell me more. I'm looking at you, Nicole. Tell me more about the program.
So with Sun Health at Home, essentially when folks are looking to plan for their future and meet with us, get all the information and decide to join, then from day one, we will sit down and dive in and get to know them. We get a full health history. We also come into the home and look at your home safety. Is there any suggestions to make now? Otherwise, there may be in the future. We're going to look at nutritional health, mental health. So we're really looking at all aspects, and we're also involved with anyone's community that they'd like. So whether it's their kids or their faith, their financial advisor, we'll speak with anyone they'd like because we want it to be a great life choice that involves everyone. And then should they need services as they age, we'll be there to support them, and all it takes is a phone call. I usually make a joke that as long as we find out whether it's a phone call, an email, a text message, or a carrier pigeon, all that needs to happen is that we know that there's a need, and then we can respond.
Right, and we do that through our wellness coordination. Each one of our members is matched to a wellness coordinator who is either an RN or a master's in social work level professional.
Kind of like your memory navigator, right?
Exactly,
yes.
exactly.
So
and
you've got a navigator for wellness.
Exactly, and this person really develops that intimate relationship with our members because we have to remember that part of our program is that folks want to age successfully in place.
If there's such a thing. Dr.
Right.
David Kuhn and I talk about that all the time. Aging successfully, is there really such a
right.
word?
Well, we think...
As best you can.
Right. We believe in it. Simply because they maintain their ability to make their own decisions and to be in charge. And that's really important to folks. It's important to me. I know it's important to other folks. But through our wellness coordination, we are able to have this intimate relationship so that we can, I always call it read the tea leaves, in that we pre-plan. We talk to folks about those important things, like if you ever needed to move out of your home into a support facility, how do you feel about that? What kind of facility would you like? And we also talk about if we had to bring a caregiver into your home, what matters to you about those caregivers? In other words, what types of folks do you want? What types of care do you see yourself possibly feeling comfortable with? We have all of those conversations so that at a moment's notice, and it is at a moment's notice, we're on call 24/7 for each and every one of our members. In fact, we are the number one emergency contact for every one of our members.
Wow.
So when they reach out, even if it's carrier pigeon, we respond. And we respond immediately. And we literally handhold all the way through whatever is happening.
The thing I really like and I'm intrigued about is getting a lot of the history. Because, and that's something, that's a big issue that we have as a community, and not just here in Arizona, but across the country in terms of getting medical information, just sharing medical information. And I'm sure you guys have read about it in the news that, there's some hospitals that are resistant to sharing the information publicly. I know the president and CEO of Epic has made it very clear that she's not sharing her information. So it's important to get that information to really understand the person that is going to be a part of the program. So you got to get the history. I'm assuming that you also do a thorough analysis of them once they come onto the program, or is that something that they have to do to qualify for the program?
Well, it's kind of both.
Okay.
In order to qualify for the program, there is a medical qualification, and we simply gather a couple of years worth of medical records, and we really do a deep dive with the potential member on what's been happening and what we might have to anticipate for. And frankly, before I joined, they had to know that I was a type 2 diabetic, because remember that the Life Care Promise says that from the day they join with us, we are ultimately responsible to implement and to provide the care and services they need, no matter what level of care that is. And so we have to have all of the information, so to speak.
So do you feel like now that you're part of the program, you got someone to be accountable to?
Oh, you're not kidding. I had
you got Big Brother that is checking in on you?
I had shoulder surgery right before Christmas. I can only tell you they take it very serious.
Wow. Now, I want to learn a little bit more, and I know you, our listeners, want to learn more. It's hard to believe we're down 3 segments. Barbara and Nicole, I told you it goes really fast. So I want to make sure we wrap it up really nice and tight at the end so our listeners really know how to learn more and how to contact Sun Health at Home.
Wonderful.
You've been listening to Health Futures Taking Stock. And I've got Sun Health at Home in the studio, Barbara Mason and Nicole Holtsclaw. We'll be right back.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. I'm your host, Bob Roth, and I've got Sun Health at Home here in the studios. I've got both Barbara Mason, who's our executive director, or their executive director, and I've got Nicole Holtsclaw. She is the membership counselor, and Jason gave us a little Marshall Tucker to take us into our last segment, and thank you, Jason. I love those tunes from the oldies. So I want to really wrap things up for our listeners and for me. Nicole, I'm going to send it over to you and really talk about the onus of it, and that's really planning.
It is. It's really looking at what the future can hold and planning for it as best as we can, right? We don't know exactly what is written in the tea leaves, as Barbara mentioned before, but it's really looking at developing a plan to answer the 4 questions about planning that Barbara mentioned about where are we going to get care, who's going to provide it, how are we going to pay for it, because how much is it going to cost, and looking at a program that can walk that journey with you before those moments even come up. And that's what Sun Health is. And so Barbara mentioned that she skated past our minimum age requirement, if you will. So the program is really, we can have folks 55 or better join our program. We don't have a maximum. But the earlier someone joins, it really allows us to partner with them and be more proactive towards health and wellness and lifestyle. And having an RN as your go-to, phone buddy, if you have any questions, to be able to have an RN that will pick up and respond. And if they don't have a resource, they can get it for you, and it's trusted. I mean, how many people can have that kind of benefit?
You're right. Absolutely. And really, to think about it, you talked about at the end of our third segment, you talked about your shoulder surgery.
Right.
And you told me they were like white on rice on you. And...
Oh, you're not kidding. And, I tried to remind him that they worked for me, but that didn't work. And Nicole put it really well. We bring folks into our program who are wellness focused, who really want to stay as well as possible or even get better than they are now. And so that when the time comes that there are the bumps in the road, right? Or when things change, we're ready. And hopefully they're smaller bumps because we've kept folks healthy, independent, and really in charge of themselves. And so really that's what we're here for, is to keep folks healthy and well and happy and satisfied for as long as possible. And then when the change begins, when things happen, we're prepared, there's no fear, there's no anxiety, and we can get folks right back on the road to wellness as soon as possible.
And we're helping pay for it.
And I'm sorry, what was that?
We're helping pay for it.
And you're helping pay for
the
that.
The financial aspect can't be understated either.
Wow.
Because even folks planning who've adopted or taken out a long-term care policy, I think we know there's been a lot of changes in that industry, but our program allows us to take those policies and really wrap around it and protect folks in-home, as well as utilizing those policies or protecting the policy for when they're really, truly going to need it. But then having us provide that support while it's smaller needs or questions.
So what I'm hearing you say, and unfortunately a small percentage of our population had the foresight to buy long-term care insurance policies. So just because you have a policy doesn't give you the kind of benefit that Sun Health at Home has. Absolutely.
And 55% of the members at Sun Health at Home do have long-term care insurance in addition.
I'm not surprised, by the way, because they were smart enough to plan.
Absolutely.
And then they saw your product, and they're like, oh, this thing is really good.
Absolutely. And so we really are preserving their benefits. And we're partnering with long-term care insurance to make sure that they don't fall through the cracks. There are a lot of limitations with long-term care insurance, such as you have to have permanent deficiencies and you have waiting periods, and there are caps to the programs. We're a life care program. From day one, we provide life care. No matter what we're dealing with, we're prepared, and we're prepared to take care of someone throughout their entire life.
Wow. To me, it's like, really, really buying this super insurance product. And would you consider it an insurance product?
Very much. It's sort of like an insurance healthcare hybrid. Mm-hmm. And by the way, we are licensed and regulated by the Arizona Department of Insurance as such. And so we do have someone looking after us, making sure that we're looking after our members just as we promise. And that is the Sun Health legacy, doing what we say we'll do and doing it the best.
Nice. And there's nothing else like this out there.
No.
Not here in our community.
I
know if I remember correctly, I think Jennifer had said some of this was being done back east.
Mm-hmm. There's 35 programs.
35 in the entire country.
One west of Tennessee.
And that's us.
Wow. All right, so Jennifer was on many, many years ago, and she had single digits in terms of members.
Right.
Where are you guys at now?
Well, we are just about to hit 100.
Wow.
Right. And we're going to celebrate that. We're definitely going to celebrate.
You should.
You should. The average growth for a program like ours is 12 members a year. And so we're at 100, and we've just celebrated our 4th anniversary.
So you've doubled that number.
We have. We have. We're the fastest growing program in the United States.
Well, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it's being brought to you by Sun Health.
Oh, you bet.
I mean, you guys are innovators. You know, you guys are looked at as the standard and people to watch in terms of, you know, thought leaders, people that are looking to adapt to change. So
it's really listening to the community and then looking at how we can provide a product that can meet that need. So it's listening to what the need is and then meeting it, not necessarily trying to
catch up.
To catch up, yes.
So as we get ready to close, what do you want to leave our listeners with? And really say, you know, this is something, if you are planning for your health in the future, this is something you have to come and see. You have to come to one of our discovery meetings or discovery seminars so you can learn more about it.
I would say that we know that 70% of adults over 65 will need some form of long-term care in their lifetime. We also know that 90% of people over 65 want to stay in their homes for the duration of their lives. And we also know that through continuing care at home programs, we've shown and demonstrated that we can make that happen. If your dream is to stay at home for your entire life, we're able to do so at a rate of 96%.
That's amazing. That in of itself is an incredible thing that you guys are offering here in our community. So if you're listening in, you want to learn more, go to sunhealthathome.org. Is there a phone number that they can call to?
Right, they can. They can dial 623-227-4663.
And the important thing is to make sure you learn as much as you can on the web. And really don't miss one of these seminars. I think you can get a lot of information.
Come and meet us.
And I'm looking at Nicole. Nicole usually is putting these things on, so you get a chance to meet Nicole. Well, that's all the time I have for today. You've been listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Sun Health at Home.
Thank you.
We'll be back next Friday.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 105.3 FM.